I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of remakes, especially movie remakes. Yeah, I'm talking about you, and especially you. Now, remaking old D&D adventures is a fairly new thing. Wizards of the Coast put out Tales of the Yawning Portal in 2017, and some adventures included in that anthology are classics like White Plum Mountain, Dead and Thay, The Forge of Fury, and I have not done any comparisons of 1E adventures to 5E adventures, but if you like this video and you leave me some comments below, maybe I'll do more of them. So, why am I interested in Descent into the Lost Caverns of Tsojcanth adventure? Well, I'm running this adventure this Friday, April 5th, over on D&D Beyond, and if you're interested in sitting at my table, well, there's a link below. It's a paid game, but you'll pay less for one of my 3-hour adventures than renting a movie on Amazon and ordering Grubhub. So, in prepping for my game, I thought I would read the first edition of Descent, which came out in 1982 and is for 6 to 8 characters, levels 6 through 10, and the 5e version is for 4 to 6 characters of 9th level, and is part of the new anthology book that is coming out soon called Quest from the Infinite Staircase, which will, in addition to Descent into the Lost Caverns of Tsojcanth, include The Lost City, Pharaoh, and Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Now listen, if you're wanting to play this adventure, avert your eyes, go away. But if you're wanting to DM this adventure, stick around, because I'll give you my honest opinion as to whether the new version of the Descent into the Caverns of Tsojcanth stands up or not. Now, the comparison I will be doing will only be between the lesser caverns. This particular adventure does not have the greater caverns. I'm sure it will come along with the rest of the adventure in Quest of the Infinite Staircase when it comes out. So let's take a look first at the actual locations. Okay, let's go ahead and start with a map comparison. Can you tell which is which? Which is first edition, which is 5th edition? If you can't, well, let me explain. The first edition is the one on the graph paper, the one which I have great fondness for, and the one that is a full artistic expression of the map is 5th edition, which is also not a bad map. I think they stayed true to the maps, and as far as I can tell, there's only maybe one extra location, whereas the first edition map has 20 locations. The 5th edition has 21 locations, and I think the only difference is there's a cul-de-sac, I think that's in there. Also, I did notice something, and I put it up in D&D Beyond and let people know. There is, if you look right at the top of the map in the small lake area, that is location 19, and then right below it, there is a location 19. So they actually have 2 location 19s, and one of them should be location 20, which is the pool cavern. So let's see if they get that fixed before my game on Friday. All right, so let's go ahead and look at monsters in the 1st edition and in the 5th edition of the Descent into Tsojcanth. And probably my left, your right, you can see 1st edition has, and I'm going to cut to the chase, there are 95 monsters in 1st edition. You can see there's 20 sturgeons. There's, this could be 1,095 if I want to count the 1,000 bats. But in 5e, you're going to get swarms, right? So that swarms 1,000 bats. Now, on the 5e side, there are 48 monsters. Now, some of the monsters that are missing from 5e that were in 1e are things like the piercers. There's 6 piercers. There's 2 cockatrices. And the Gorgamera. I mean, come on now. Let's keep the Gorgamera, right? But I'm not unhappy with the list. I mean, there's a lot of monsters. I mean, remember, 1e was supposed to be deadly. You really weren't supposed to survive at some level. You were going to do your best, but there's a lot of monsters there. And in 5e, well, there's not as many monsters, but they kept a lot of the same monsters. They have 4 basilisks there. Their green slime's the same. The crickets. They have these new creatures called Pecks. They threw in the Cloaker. They still have the Clay Golem, which is pretty serious. They have a Behir. They have the Gas, 8 of those. So I'm not terribly mad about that. I think it's fine. But once again, if you remember that 1st edition is supposed to be lots of deadly, and 5e is not nearly as deadly. It can be deadly, but I don't hate the list. I think, once again, it's fine. And you're welcome to leave your comments down below as to whether or not you think 5e should be a little more deadly, or whether or not they should have ported over all these monsters, at least the Gorgamera, right? At least tell me that you agree with that. And by the way, if you're still watching and you're not a subscriber yet, well, I would love you to be part of this channel. Go ahead and click the subscribe button, and you'll get videos like this in your inbox on a regular basis. So thank you for watching, and let's carry on. Let's take a look now at the treasure in both adventures. Okay, so here we are on the treasure page. Now I'm starting with 5E first, and there's a good reason for that, because 1E is going to shock you a little bit. But if you look over here to the left, or my left, your right, I put all the things based on locations, all the different treasures that are located there. And see, I go down the list. I include, the 20 silvered arrows, 2 ivory mammoth tusks, which are in first edition at 600 gold pieces each. That's there. And then if you look over on the other side, I totaled everything up. So there's 3 gems at 200 apiece. There's 5 diamonds, 500 apiece, 100 apiece equals 500. 4 gems at 50. There's 600 garnets worth 1 gold piece each. So that's 600 if your players are going to grab up all these little tiny rocks from everywhere, and most do. Then you have like 500 in gold pieces of uncut gems, which brings us to a grand total of 4,118 gold pieces. That's the total. That's not including magic or armor or anything like that. That's purely just the treasure stuff. As far as the monetary value, the 4,118 gold pieces. Now, let's take a look at first edition, and let it be said that, listen, those of us that played the old school adventures, that Gary Gygax was the Monty Hall of D&D. There's tons of treasure. There's lots and lots of stuff in here. So as you can see there are gems. There are 10d10. I didn't roll this up. I'm just putting what's in there. There's 10d10 of coins. There's 1 to 4 pieces of jewelry. There's platinum pieces. There's silver pieces, which I did convert to gold pieces. You get 500 gold pieces worth of electrum, 906 platinum pieces, which is 9,060, I believe. You have the 12,646 gold pieces. The gems are there, 8,118 gold pieces worth of gems. And it equals, let me go ahead and get to the punchline here. It equals 34,000. If you look at the bottom there of the page there, bottom of the screen, 34,345 in gold pieces, not including magic items. That's a lot. That's a lot. But granted, too, you were fighting more monsters. You were fighting the Gorgamera. You're fighting a lot of monsters, and you're getting a lot of treasure. So I think that the 5E version is commensurate in the sense that it has less monsters, but it also has less treasures. But I also say that 5E has included a lot of the, things from 1E that are cool, the things that you like to see, the folding boat and the bowl and the little doodads and things like that. So I think they did a fine job with that. All right, let's take a look at the magic items. Okay, so here are the magic items. Once again, sorry for my poor penmanship. But you do get the dagger +2, the braces of defense, potion of healing, potion of vitality, cloak of poisonousness, boots of levitation, boots of dancing, the folding boat, the scroll with all the spells, lens of detection, the scroll of protection from elementals, the bag of holding. Really shocked that 5e did not have the bag of holding, because how are you going to get all that stuff out of there? You do have the battle axe +2/+4 versus the undead. 2 potions of water breathing. And this is the short list of actual magic items that are in 5e. The rapier, you get the potion of healing, periapt of protection against poison. So once again, there's less magic items, but you're also fighting less monsters. So what do I think about the 5th edition remake of The Descent into Tsojcanth? Well, I think the 5e version is pretty faithful to the original, albeit it's much cheaper in regards to the treasure that they offer, but 5e also did not overdo healing potions, things like that. The adventure is still quite deadly, but unlike 1e, you can still have your short rest, death saves, so forth, but you don't have to include those if you don't want to. It's your table. Now, what first edition does do better than 5e is lore build. At the beginning of the first edition adventure, there is a whole thing where you're at the Yatil Mountains in Greyhawk. You have probably 20 encounters you can have. You have a gnome village. There's all kinds of, like a gnome dungeon, I want to say. But listen, there's tons of playability there where before you ever get into the caverns, there's plenty to do. Lots going on. Now we'll have to wait and see whether or not the 5th edition version puts all that in there. I'd be interested to see if they did. It would be pretty cool. But if they don't, that's fine. That's what makes 1E special, is the ability to have all that lore and all that sandbox to play around in. So you tell me, based on this comparison, which of these versions would you enjoy running? Which would you enjoy playing? Leave me a comment down below. And don't forget, there is a link to my game Friday night, April 5th, around 6:30. It's about a 3-hour game. And so if you're interested in that, hit me up. And if you want more videos like this, be sure to go and click the thumbs up button. That tells me you do like it and you want more of them. But that's it for today's video. Go out there and go run some epic games. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.